So the idea for artwork in the new City Hall was actually fairly early on. And when we knew that the new City Hall was coming online, we wanted to hire an artist as soon as possible so that we could actually integrate the artist into the design. So the architect and the artist were able to work together. It's always a collaborative process. We make sure that there's representation from throughout the city. So we have the Northglenn Arts and Humanities Foundation Board, and then we also have the Northglenn Youth Commission. We had City Council represented on the committee, as well as the mayor. All of them got together not only to help design the work, but is to also be the ones that actually select the artist. So the Northglenn Arts and Humanities Foundation has a great profile because it's been around since 1990. What they did is they went out and they received both grants and donations. So we received significant funding from the Scientific, Cultural, and Facilities District, the Colorado Creative Industries, several donations from residents and other stakeholders. And that's what helped fund this entire project, along with funds directly from the Northglenn Arts and Humanities Foundation. It was an incredible process in that they were really looking for a collaborator. Jodie Bliss very quickly floated to the top. She was the choice, and it was no question. It was actually a unanimous decision by the committee. And it was not only because of her creativity, but her ability to work with various stakeholders, including a city council, including funders, was par none. It was above everybody else.
I have a lot of experience now, having worked through communications, with really the goal being that I want my client to not only be happy with their piece, but I want it to speak to them. Getting to know people and getting to understand what their story is, what their path is, what's important to them, that brings me a lot of joy, and I find it very interesting, and it sends my mind spinning down paths that I wouldn't have taken. So when I'm designing an art piece and I'm able to listen back to a meeting that I've had and hear something that someone said that, you know, maybe I didn't even quite hear it in this way the first time, but then I've reflected on it, that's so inspiring. That's one of those things for me that starts my creative process. I'm not just looking inside of myself to create this art, I'm looking to connect and to pull from these other stories. So now in the bigger public art project, I'm able to step into that same sort of relationship, but with communities, which is, to me, really, really cool to be able to connect with communities and help them tell their stories.
And then not only that, she's an entrepreneur. She owns her own business in Monument, Colorado. She's one of the only female-owned metalwork shops in the country. So she really just had this amazing resume, amazing presence, and it was an easy decision.
I was raised by an incredibly strong woman, and she owned a business here in this building, a High Country Feed and Tack. So I was raised in this building from when I was born until I was 10, going to work with my mom, watching her be just a boss lady, you know? And I have a father who admires and supports strong women, who thinks they're just the coolest thing on the planet. So in those formative years for me, there was no nugget or no seed planted that because I was female that I couldn't do absolutely anything that I wanted. So I'm incredibly lucky there. I'm one of many women that do this. I'm members of a lot of blacksmithing guilds, and in those I've connected with, you know, hundreds of strong women all throughout the country, all throughout the world, that are doing not the same thing that I am, but in a way they're walking a really similar path.
How we ended up where we did with regards to the design is that there was a process by which the artist wanted to get to know Northglenn. So all of those committee members were tasked at different times to provide input on what Northglenn meant to them.
I think we did 4 or 5 design meetings, and the first one, I'm really just trying to take all of the possibilities in the universe and narrow it down to a smaller group of things. So we were able to do that. We were able to land really strong on the theme of trees and community and connection and flow.
The two things that sort of became the highest priority was inclusivity and then our natural environment, our parks, our tree canopy. That's where the design came from.
Okay, so now I take all of this little bushel full of ideas and images and direction, and then I did a ton of samples. I probably spent like 300-400 hours making samples. So like we made an aspen tree and we made some different leaves, and I played with different colors, and I made some different things that could be potential textures. And then we did this second meeting, and again, we were at like all the possibilities in the universe. We did narrow down kind of the types of trees that we wanted to use, the style that we wanted to work within. And the big thing was that was kind of overarching was like, I remember I asked them, do you guys like things that dangle? And that everybody, yeah, we love things that dangle. So I was like, okay, we're gonna have things that dangle in this. And we knew that we wanted to incorporate glass. And from that meeting, I was able to come up with the first design for this piece. I think one of the major things that changed was originally the spheres were symmetrical. So they kind of came like this as a curtain. And in the next design meeting, I had done 3 or 4 different renditions of it's this design, but here's some ways that I could see it being a little different. And that was when we landed on, okay, yeah, we want this asymmetrical kind of flow happening here. We talked about colors, they chose their glass colors. And from there, it was just, we've got the design committee stamp of approval, and then we went to city council for their approval and any feedback that they wanted to give, and that went very well. City council liked it and didn't want anything changed. I did have a number of the design committee throughout the process come up and tour the studio as well, which is something I love to do. I think 5 of them came, I gave a demo on how I do the leaves and like the little marks in them. And then all of them came and did stamps in the leaves. And so we used the leaves from that tour in the piece itself. So I know where those are, but they gotta find them.
So by taking 4 different trees that are indigenous to the area, the 4 seasons, and having them all flow together is a way to not only celebrate our natural surroundings, but is also a way for us to, in a way, show inclusivity, that everybody is welcome here.
The idea behind the hanging spheres and the organic shapes is, one was to carry the color throughout the piece. So each of the trees represents a different season. So across the top of the ceiling, we wanted to have it go through the seasons: summer, autumn, winter, spring. Of course, the idea of growth and change together is one of the things that we wanted to represent in the piece. So for me, the blown glass, one of the things that I've loved about doing these steel cages with the blown glass like bursting through is that it has, although it's a hard static thing, it has this energy of something breaking through. And then the stainless steel spheres, I think, were very important. So there's mirror balls hanging there, and those serve a couple of different purposes. There's interest in them, but then when the viewer looks up, they see themselves, right? And they see who they're surrounded with, they see their community. So that was kind of the message behind the spheres and the artistic intent behind them. So the summer tree that's on the wall is actually modeled after an actual tree in E.B. Rains Park.